A perfect summer day is when the sun is shining, the breeze is blowing, the birds are singing, and the lawnmower is broken.
I like the sound of a lawnmower.
I, what'd you say?
I like the sound of a lawnmower.
I do too like the sound of a lawnmower, but I also like not being the one using the lawnmower.
True. Okay,
That's by
continue.
James Dent. I thought it was really cute. We are going to be talking about summer today and what we love about it, the best things about it. And I was just thinking in preparation for this episode that we are already halfway through the year. I mean, it's
No.
just gone. The year is half over. It
Hmm.
flew by already. Welcome to Looking Up. Thank you, friends and sisters, for joining us and listening in. We're a podcast for Christian women. I'm Kathy Pollard, and I'm in Kentucky and in Texas, and joining me is Carla Moore, your other host. We're good friends who like to talk about things that interest us, a lot of times things that we need. Like last week's episode on, what did we call it? Welcome to the monster you created.
Hmm.
So it went a little long, I admit. It was it was pretty
Another
Neil,
epic.
this is a podcast for Christian women, but most of you know, because you've heard me mention that my husband Neil does listen every single week, and he did give me grief about the length of the episode. The first episode of the new season was long. We have been sort of trying to keep them a little bit shorter, but you know what? It was just a conversation that I needed,
Hmm.
and
Did he
I
have
was
something good to
enjoying
say
it.
about it?
Well, we just, we kind of try not to just, we kind of want to just do what we want to do, okay?
No, did Neil have something good to say about it, even though he was griping
He's
about
not
the amount?
finished it yet. He hasn't
Well,
finished it yet.
today.
So he's gonna have to, yeah, he's gonna break it up into segments, and he usually
Hmm.
listens while he's working out. So I guess he doesn't work out for an hour and almost 40 minutes.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we there was 2 weeks that we didn't have an episode at all. So if you break up that hour
Right?
and a half into three segments, that would be, I can't do that math quick enough, but it's like
Mhm.
less than 40 minutes per week, right?
Exactly.
Something like that. No,
Exactly.
45 minutes a week, something like that.
So today we're talking about summer, which we also both really love, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be an uplifting, good conversation. But before we get into it, tell me what's new with you. We're recording early this week, so it hasn't been actually all that long since we've chatted, but
Yeah.
I know you
Well,
got stuff going on. That's why we're recording early. What's up?
I laughed when you said that our episode is going to be what we love about summer because I don't know, would we ever record one that's what we love about winter? We should
We
try that.
probably should.
Would be a very short one.
Short.
Then Neil would be happy, right?
Yes, he would.
A short episode to listen to. Yeah, it's only been half a week or so since we talked last time for us anyway.
Mm.
And we had Brian Ketchum came to the house. Brian was actually supposed to be in Israel right now. He was going to take the class that John took, the very same class that John took way back in 1998,
Oh,
to kind
okay.
of got John going on this, what he loves to do. And Brian has a lot of similarities to John. He's got a degree in geography. John doesn't have a degree in geography, but he loves geography and maps and things like that. And so Brian was going to go with another friend, John Callenbach, to take this class from Jerusalem University College. And so the night before they were getting ready to go is when things started getting dicey with Iran. And so thankfully, I was just so glad that it was before they left rather than on their way or
Yeah,
even while they were there because
getting stuck over
flight,
there.
yeah, the airline canceled his flight. So he was able to he either got money back or was able to postpone it. And the class will be rescheduled. So he'll take it at some point. But since he didn't get to go to Israel, he came down here because we usually have a summertime meeting where he comes here because he lives in Denver. And he works with us half time. He works with Bear Valley Bible Institute half time. And so we just had lots of meetings about projects that are upcoming and things that we needed to get better at and do more of. And so he's a lot of fun. Shannon and his wife didn't get to come this time. They have a 4-month-old little girl named Aria, and Shannon is back at work. She's a pharmacist that works overnight. So she's she's a rock star, manages a lot of stuff. But Brian's parents were there helping with the baby. Anyway, that's what we've pretty much been doing since you and I recorded is lots of meetings and lots of productivity stuff. Nothing really exciting. I did get I had a little minute to go to Goodwill. Can you see the little, did I show you this?
Oh, how
It's
cute.
a little dinosaur ottoman.
That's adorable.
Yeah. And John says, What's that for? And I said, it's for the grandkids, of course, because they'll
Yeah,
like it.
I
And
love it.
he
That's
may
so
have rolled his
cute.
eyes a little bit, but I thought it was cute.
It is cute.
Yeah.
Well, in the last episode, you had asked me if anything was coming in the garden, and I said no, and I'm okay with that because I'm not ready for all the hard work that goes along with harvesting. And literally the very next morning, Neil brought in a great big old basket full of green beans.
Yeah. They were actually ripe.
Yeah, and so we've been eating fresh green beans, and every morning he's bringing in green beans, and we have look at these really pretty
Mm-hmm.
yellow tomatoes. This is a new variety for me. It's called Carolina Gold. I've never grown yellow tomatoes before, so I haven't tried one yet. I hope they'll be delicious, but I'm looking forward. I figured they'd be really pretty on a tomato sandwich, like a BLT.
Yeah. I have seen those canned. I've seen Carolina Gold canned
Hmm.
that are like expensive. So they must be sort of a gourmet type
Yeah,
tomato.
I mean, I've seen them in markets, but like farmers markets and things, but we've never, whoa, Ollie, we've never grown them. But so anyway, I'm excited to try those. And also, this is the time of year, sorry, when I'm always got fresh herbs coming in, and I just like to pick a bunch of them and put them in a jar in my kitchen window and use them in the
That
kitchen.
basil.
So, yeah, we've been bringing in some okra
Hmm.
already. So, anyway, like things just almost, I think it's your fault. You
How?
asked me about it, and then all of a sudden, things started hopping, and now it's whether I'm ready or not. Here it
Well, you're
comes.
welcome. You're
Here it
welcome.
comes. Yeah. And I was going to share that last Thursday, I can't remember if I said that we were going to be doing this, but we went to Holiday World with the youth group,
I
which
saw
is
that picture of
big.
you.
It's a big theme park in
Mhm.
Santa Claus, Indiana. And I think a long time ago, it used to be called Santa Claus Land or
Yeah.
something like that. It's the oldest theme park in the country. But all I'll say about it is that, first of all, it was really hot. It was like over 100 degrees.
Yeah.
But I am a chicken in those in roller coaster land. And it was so funny how many people, so Neil is not. All the scary roller coasters he got on. It doesn't matter how tall they were, if they go upside down. He rode every single one of them. And I went on the first one, which is their not really scary roller coaster. It's called Good Gravy. People people call it like the warm-up version. And that
Uh-huh.
was it for me. I mean, I screamed through the whole thing and my heart was pounding and we were standing in the shade afterwards and my hands were shaking. I mean, it just took way too long for my body to get back to normal. So I was like, I'm done. So I didn't do any more roller coasters. And Neil did all of them.
Oh,
So-
I'm not a roller coaster girl either.
but
I love
everybody
the fast
that
one.
we talked to about that and found it out were so surprised and they thought that we would be reversed. And I guess it's because I like scary movies and Neil doesn't. I mean, there are things that I'm not, that just don't bother me and I'm not afraid of, but I don't know what it is about a roller coaster. I feel like I'm going to be slung out of that cart any minute now. And I just don't enjoy that feeling of you could die any second. That's not pleasure for me. So,
You're not an
but Neil
adrenaline
not
junkie.
only will ride them, he'll throw his arms up.
Mm.
And I was hanging onto that bar for dear life, like
Well, that picture of you, you've got your tongue out, and I was looking at like that's either someone's taunting you and you're sticking your tongue out at them, or you're feared for your life, like you're about to you're
yeah.
taking your life in your own hands.
And I honestly don't know if that was at the very beginning or the very end. I don't know if I don't know when that was taken. I don't remember if I did it right before we took off or right when we got back. But either way, it would fit.
I
I was
remember
terrified or relieved.
oh, my very first roller coaster was Six Flags over Georgia, and I was probably, I don't know, six. Ironically, we had gone to see my Aunt Jean and Uncle Bob, the one whose funeral I'm leaving for tomorrow, Aunt Jean. And for some reason, we went to Six Flags, and Mom and I, and it surprises me too that Mom got on one. It's probably because my Uncle Bob made us, because
Mhm.
he was always one of those, to kind of poke, you can do this, it's going to be fun, all that kind of stuff. And I remember very, very distinctly, when you go the tick, 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 tick,
Yes.
and then you get to the top and you kind of hang there for a second. And
Yes.
I remember mom just holding on to me saying, just close your eyes, it'll be over in a minute. And that's pretty much how I have approached any roller coaster since then. I don't like
Well,
them.
that's, I rode them as kids. I rode them as teenagers. We went to Six Flags over Georgia, did Z-Force, which was horrible. And then when our kids were kids, of course you have to. And now I'm just to that point where I'm like, I have no reason
Yeah.
to get
What
on
was
this
that
thing.
Cheryl Turner said to you? Something about,
In Cambodia, yeah, when they were eating bugs, tarantulas and
uh
beetles and things like that, all she would say is 47, because that's how old she was. And she was saying, I'm 47 years old and I have nothing to prove.
nothing to prove. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm there. I'm absolutely there now when it comes to roller coasters.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have
Yeah.
some that are fast, like that'll go sideways fast.
Hmm.
And I like those. I like to go fast, but I do not like the ones that your stomach
Same.
drops out.
Yeah.
Can't do
I like
that.
the ones that spin around real fast.
Ooh, I don't like that.
And Neil doesn't. So right before we left, I asked him if he'd get on the scrambler with me, which is one of those that kind of swings you around like this, goes in circles all the way around. He was like, no. And I said, please, but this is the one I hadn't been riding the big roller coasters. And I'm like, this is the one I really want to ride. And he was like, no. And I couldn't even be mad at him because I didn't get on any of those scary roller coasters with him. I only did that first one. And he didn't pressure me. He didn't give me a hard time about it. So I couldn't even say anything to him about it. But I
Didn't
really,
find one of the kids to go with you? Didn't
well,
you?
we could
You went with
split
your niece?
up because
Oh.
the bulk, it's a big theme park and it also has a water park.
Mhm.
And this was toward the end of the day, and everybody else pretty much, Neil and Travis Harrison were hitting the roller coasters together. Neil even did one of them by himself. That's how badly he was willing to get on that thing. And then the bulk of everybody else was all spread out and at the water park and who knows where. So every now and then we'd run into somebody, but so anyway,
Everybody did their own
it was
thing.
just me. It was just me. I didn't want to get on it by myself.
Yeah.
So,
John has more problems with motion sickness than I do. And he tells a story that it's hysterical what happened to him when he was probably, I don't know, 14 or 15, because he got on one of those that does this while it's going up and down and spinning. So it's,
yes.
all different directions
Right.
with a girl. And it
Mhm.
was at one of those,
Oh,
hometown carnivals. And he threw up in it. And so she's like, up against trying to get as far away as she can in there. And he said every time it would spin, like get toward the bottom, he'd be going, stop. And it would go around, stop. And of course, they're not going to stop just for one person. So that just made him, that's it for life. He does not do roller coasters. And I'm okay with that. I am a
well,
little
these
surprised that
roller
you don't
coasters.
like them.
Well, these roller coasters are so bad that literally while we were there, people were getting off the rides, people in our group, and saying somebody threw up, somebody passed out,
Mm. It was
and
hot.
it was hot, but on the ride, they passed out.
Oh, okay.
And there was the roller coaster that Neil got on by himself. I was sitting on a bench in the shade waiting on him, and this young family came off, and a father and son came off, and the father was telling his wife that the son passed out on the ride. And I
Nice.
thought he was exaggerating. He said he kind of looked over, at first he was enjoying it, and he looked over there, and his son was just slumped over.
Hmm.
But I was like, yeah, right. Well, then later on in the day, one of the teen girls in our group, they had just gotten off a ride, and she said, well, she was like, it was pretty rough. Somebody threw up and somebody else passed out.
Okay. That's not
So,
exactly a rousing recommendation.
no, why would people put themselves through that on purpose?
Yeah. We were on one year, this was years ago. Jordan was a baby and we had left him with somebody, was babysitting him. But it was a fast one that I got on, but it hung. It was
Hmm.
at Houston's Astroworld. So it hung and it didn't go up and down so much as fast, but it was swinging like this because it was going around curves. and we hit one of the pylons. The car
Oh,
hit it, and then I mean so hard that the lens of my sunglasses popped out. And pretty like 10 seconds later, it all came to a stop. And we were way up high, just dangling. And that was for me. I was
mm-mm.
thinking, no, I'm out. I'm out of this because I have a baby.
Heck,
Why am I
please.
doing this? And I'm looking and you can see there's stairs, like steps, like a ladder with a guardrail or whatever. So I was thinking, are we going to have to climb out and go down that way? And eventually they got us going again and very slowly brought us down. And I think they closed it down after that. But I think that might
Nice.
have had something to do with my fear
Oh,
of
yeah.
roller coasters.
Neil said that one of the rides that he and Travis got on, a few minutes later, one of the girls in our youth group tried to ride it and they had shut it down because it broke.
Oh,
And he and Travis had just been on it.
yeah.
I said, that's
I
comforting.
don't need that kind of thrill.
I know. But anyway, we did that. Tonight we're having our family baby shower finally for Gary and Chelsea. We had to reschedule it because she was having like pre-labor
Yeah.
symptoms stuff the last time we were supposed to have it. So it's gonna be real casual. Her all-time favorite food is pizza. And
Mhm.
so we're just having pizza and a big salad, and Janelle's doing the dessert and Emily's doing the games, and it's just family, you know.
Good.
So that'll be fun. Now I'm running through these really quick since we palavered so long about roller coasters. But Neil, I mentioned last time that he built a corral for our Jersey cow apricot. Well, it looks great, but it wasn't quite big enough for her to really have any shade. You know, it was sort of close to a tree, but not close enough to where the shading came into the corral area. So she really wasn't using it that much in the daytime because it was too
Mhm.
hot. And so he ended up ordering that many more panels and doubled the size of it to include a couple of trees. So now she has a lot of shade out there and spending more time. She's so happy. I mean, she looks like a completely different cow. So it's amazing how much difference that has made.
She's enjoying her summer.
She is finally. Okay, I'll just mention really quickly. So last Tuesday night, we had ladies Bible class over here, and Leanna Wheat noticed, I think you can kind of see, do you see a little blue and white jar on the counter back there? On my
Yeah,
kitchen island
on
is
the
a blue
island.
and
Yeah.
white. It's like
Uh-huh.
a vase with a lid. It's
Where the
spode.
owl was sitting last week.
Yes, well, that's my salt jar. I keep coarse sea salt in there, and Leanna Wheat had seen it, and she said, "Do you want a set of blue and white dishes?" I could feel my heart start pattering. Like
Dishes, your love language.
when it really is, when the words came out of her mouth and I went, yes. I mean, I didn't even at that point ask what kind.
Mhm.
Well, so last night or yesterday morning, when we were walking out to our vehicle after worship, there was this big bin full of blue and white dishes,
My.
and it is
Oh, wow.
set, an entire set, full-size plates, the serving bowl. It's got the
Oh my
little
gosh.
bowls and cups and saucers and a salt and pepper shaker. I mean, I really haven't even gone through the whole thing, but they're English,
Nice.
which is
Nice.
my favorite. And they are, it's called Liberty Blue. It's the historic colonial scenes, which I love. See that one? Look how
Yeah.
pretty they
Uh-huh.
are.
It's
Uh,
beautiful.
yeah, made in England. Anyway, I am tickled pink. I'm so excited. I really don't need another set of dishes. I don't even know where I'm going to put them,
You're going
but
to
I
get rid
don't
of one
care.
set so you can
I
make room
will
for
make
that
it work. Yeah. So, and then,
set.
oh, okay. I do want to share this really quick. So, I ran across this recipe idea. Um, I would not call it a health food by any means. So, just so you know, right up front.
But good.
Yeah, but you know how there are those dump cakes where you layer, it's got like melted butter and then you put in some
Mhm.
fruit and then you sprinkle a cake mix on top,
Mhm.
right? Or whatever, and you bake it and it turns into this perfectly delicious, whatever kind of dump cake.
Mhm.
Well, this is a very exact same thing except with chicken pot pie.
Ooh,
And so it's a layer of melted butter, and then you put all your pulled rotisserie chicken, and then you put on your frozen mixed vegetables, frozen.
Mhm.
Sprinkle on top of that, or you could just do the frozen peas and carrots if you would rather do that. We did the frozen mixed vegetables. Then you sprinkle on a box of Red Lobster biscuit mix.
Oh no.
Yes. Oh,
Mm.
wait, I skipped a layer. Cream of mushroom soup mixed with milk goes on top of the mixed vegetables. Then you sprinkle on the Red Lobster biscuit mix. And then the Red Lobster biscuit mix comes with that seasoning packet, their garlic. You sprinkle that on the top and you bake it.
Oh man. I
So
love pot
I had
pie.
to try it, and I did the other night. And Gary said that was the best chicken pot pie he's ever had, which I tried not to take personally
Because you make a good chicken pot
because I
pie.
make one from scratch that I really like. But
But Red
like I
Lobster biscuit
said,
mix.
not healthy by any means, but super easy, and it is very good. And you just layer all the ingredients and stick it in the oven for about half an hour at 350. That's it.
So the butter and the Red Lobster mix would, and the cream of mushroom would be many, 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 many points. But the chicken and the vegetables would be 0 points.
Yes.
Well, I
As
have
we said,
found,
not
I
healthy.
know, but delicious.
But
I
if you're
love
having
Popeye.
company, or even really even Sunday lunch, because it only takes half an hour to bake, and you could assemble it real quick, stick in the oven, go change out of your church clothes, get comfortable, set the table, pour some drinks, and it'll be ready,
Mm,
and
okay. Yeah.
every
I'm
now
game
and
for
then.
it. I have found that 0% fat Greek yogurt is my best friend, my new best friend for everything.
Yep,
Is that,
that's
I
what I
wonder
use.
if you could use that instead of cream and mushroom soup. No, no.
Well,
I mean, it's a binder. I made chicken
I
salad
don't
with
know
it.
that you can turn this one into a Weight Watchers
Yeah, just
thing.
enjoy it. Just eat a little bit less, maybe.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to pick off some of that rotisserie chicken to eat by itself with some steamed vegetables.
No, no, I gotta eat the Red Lobster part. That's the
Yeah.
best part.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that actually turned out pretty good. So I'd share that really
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, definitely try that one. All I want to share, well, two very quick things. One, my mother told me that I needed to comb my hair and cut my bangs because it was too long in the episode before last. So
Oh,
hopefully my hair is okay with my mom. Um, and then I mentioned last week the young man who is looking for a wife. And this is Monday. We're recording very early this week. And so today is the day that the episode came out that we talked about this young man, my friend. And I've already received 3 names
woohoo.
within the last, I mean, it's only 10:45 in the morning. So maybe there will be a looking up match.
How can we turn this into a game, where we give various information about each of these three young ladies and Bachelor gets to pick
The
which
dating
one
game.
he wants?
I'm sure he's thrilled with me doing this kind of thing.
Truly, stay tuned for whatever might show up in the Facebook group this coming week. We might show a picture of this said handsome young man.
Might have to get his permission before doing that, but I mean that's a
Details.
minor detail.
That's a minor detail.
Yeah.
I'm sure he
If
won't care.
if his family's listening, don't worry, I will not do anything without his permission. So if anyone sees a picture of him, it will only be because I
You
have
got
permission.
permission. Yeah.
Yes. That's all.
Very fun. That's so exciting. Three
Mhm.
names, huh? I'm so
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, me too. I mean, who knows? Who knows? You never
Yeah.
know.
Is there anything else you want to share before we hop into
No.
our topic? I know you have a schedule today,
Yeah.
and so do
And you've
I.
got
Clean my
family.
house.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got a lot going on. Let's go.
Okay, so we are just going to have a very casual conversation about summer because it's already flying by. It's our favorite season, and there's so many good things. And in fact, I couldn't help but think of James 1:17. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. And summer is filled with all of those good things. And when I started thinking about having this conversation, I just started jotting things down as they were coming to me about things that I love about summer. And I could have kept going. I mean, I have just a list of words here. It's probably about 25 or 30 words and easily could have kept going just because it's such a beautiful, fun, delightful time of year. And I like to make the most of it when it comes. So, what's your favorite thing about summer?
Well, daylight.
Yeah.
I mean, daylight is the main thing, I guess, because it's funny. I was thinking about this earlier that from about, the sun, it starts staying light longer, like early March. And then in my mind, from then until June the 20th or 21st, whenever the summer solstice is, I'm counting down. I keep looking at the light. It's 8 o'clock. It's still light. It's still light. It's 8:30. It's still light. And then I kind of dread June the 20th because I
Mhm.
know it goes the other way after that. But it's the daylight for me I mean, there's so many good things about it, but I think there's so many reasons daylight because you can go out after supper and take a walk or work in the garden or do yard work or sit on the deck. I mean, you can go outside and I've never been as much of an outdoor person as I have been the last few years of my life. And I don't know why that is,
Mhm.
but to me, daylight is just the number one thing that I love about summer.
Yeah, that made my list too. And the longer days, because in the winter it gets, especially here, it really does get dark very early. The longer days, but also the earlier sunrises.
Mm,
Because I always wake up before the alarm goes off in the summertime. And I love
yeah.
that feeling. I love just waking up naturally,
Mhm.
because I'm awake and my body's happy to be awake because nothing woke me up. But just waking up and the sun is already kind of filtering through the curtains,
Yeah.
it just starts the day off so perfectly. It puts me in a good mood, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what time it is. And it's always earlier than I think because it's
Mhm.
so bright outside. And
Well,
so,
y'all live real close to the line, right? I don't know what
yeah, we're
line.
central time zone, but we're right on. There are places very near us that are in their eastern time zone.
So what time does it get light there in the morning, like right now?
Well, I don't know. I know that when I wake up at 5:30, it's already light. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure exactly what time.
So your daylight, I think, is more on the front end of your day, and mine I mean, it's daylight by 6, but it's light until a little after 9. It's like 9:10
Oh,
before all of the light is gone, and I love that.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a big one.
Mm.
I have to talk about all the food.
Yeah.
Usually, if
Food.
somebody ever says to me, "What's your favorite food?" I say summer produce. The
Mhm.
whole meal of fresh corn on the cob and freshly sliced garden tomatoes and fresh green beans and watermelon. And to me, that's a meal right there. I mean, throw on some grilled chicken if you must, but I can easily make a meal out of whatever's just coming in from the garden. I love it. And so, we don't grow corn here because it's too hard to
Mm,
grow a sweet variety without a pesticide, and we don't use them.
mm,
We have tried it, but we just don't have much luck, and it takes up a lot of space. But we have farm stands here really close to us that have the best, most tender, sweet corn. So we just happily every week drive by there, grab a bunch of corn. I'll literally cook it all up at one time, and then throughout the week, we're just nibbling on it until the next weekend. So
mm.
that's what we do.
Yeah. That made my list too, is fresh corn, and especially when we get to Denver in the fall because they have the Kansas corn. Is it
Mm.
Olathe or Olathe?
I
You
don't know how to
remember?
pronounce it. Yeah, I never could.
Well, every year I look forward to that up there, especially. We can get sweet corn down here, but it's just especially good there. And I'm like you, when it's sometimes 6 for $1,
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
get a bunch and take the stalks or the ears of corn and cut all the silk off. And I found a new tool that it's like a round it's round with bristles all the way around it with a hole, and you just like brush it down the corn and it pulls. I mean, there's always going to be silk on fresh corn, but it pulls most of it off. But
Hmm.
we have corn casserole or just fresh corn on the cob. John will cut it off. I put it on top of salads, make corn cream corn. So that's my favorite vegetable of the summer. Is it a
Yeah, our
vegetable?
favorite way to eat it is just, I think so. It's a vegetable right off the cob. And I don't know why we just never get tired of it. And well, probably because it's such a short season. And corn on the cob any other time of year is just not good. The frozen stuff and we do put some up. I put it up on the cob, like frozen whole in the husk. Um,
Really? You just
yeah.
freeze it that way?
Yes, somebody told me about that this past year, which I tried for the first time, and it actually does work.
Hmm.
And you can get the oversized Ziploc bags to
Hmm.
accommodate the size of the whole husk, but and then you just slip that whole thing in there. So we froze some that way, and it was good. And then of course I took some off the cob and froze it that way as well. But we always go through it. I keep thinking this year I'm going to spread it out and make it last through the winter. But when the summer's over, we're just not done yet.
Hmm.
And I end up going through everything that I froze, before winter even starts.
It must take up a lot of room, so you need an extra freezer for your summer
I
corn.
really do. We have the freezer in the kitchen. There's a regular refrigerator freezer in the basement, and then we have a deep freeze, and it's not enough space. We really do need another deep freeze, but I like to put up stuff. Let's see if there's any other. Oh, as far as food goes, we have one of those Pelican shaved ice
Hmm.
places in town, which is so good. It's the most perfect shaved ice, best texture, best flavors. And every now and then, especially if you've been working outside all day and it's hot, or you've been running errands in town and just swinging by there for the perfect shaved ice is all about summer to me. I mean, it's such a kid thing to do, but I love it.
Mm, yeah, I love them too. I've always loved snow cones, but those shaved ice is better than snow cone. The ice is better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they have some really fun flavors. Let me see. Oh, fresh peaches is another good food. All of our blackberries are ripe right now. I thought we got rid of them all because we had this back property where they were all growing, um, bush hogged,
Hmm.
but they came back. And then we also have them bordering our property. We have tons of blackberry bushes and we've got ripe blackberries all over the place. So that is a fun part of summer. Tomato sandwiches, I've already mentioned that.
That's your favorite, isn't it?
Yes, I love tomato sandwiches. I love a good BLT. Um, and of course, grilling out, cooking out, just throwing whatever on the grill and eating outside. And restaurants. I love choosing restaurants that have outdoor seating because this time of year, I would much rather eat outside than inside a restaurant any day, especially since a lot of restaurants keep them kind of dark and really, really cold with the AC.
Yeah.
And this time of year, I love to eat outside. And Neil would probably prefer to be inside with the AC, but he's really good about, since you end up having to do that the rest of the year anyway, he's really good about if they have outdoor seating, that's where we'll sit. And I love that
What's
about
y'all's average temperature this time of year? What's
hot.
the high? Is it like more than 90?
It can be. I mean, last week we were hitting 100. So we're
Oh,
in the 80s this week. So it's a lot nicer, but it does get hot.
yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what the average is.
we're rarely below like 97 from
Ew.
about June the 15th until September 1st. So I'll sit outside if there's an umbrella or if there's
Yeah.
shade. I'll
Yeah.
prefer that. But most people are like, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
There's not as much outdoor seating.
Well, something weird about me is that I would rather be so old school when it comes to heating and cooling. Maybe not heating, but cooling.
Yeah.
I would much
Be
rather,
reasonable.
I mean, I feel like I could survive without air conditioning. And just because I know how to close the blinds when the sun hits a certain part of the house. We have good insulation. We have ceiling fans. We have box fans. I love the sound of running fans.
Yeah.
And I would be so much more comfortable walking around in shorts and a t-shirt and barefoot in my own house with the fans running. To me, that's summer. I love that sensation. But everybody else that I live with and am surrounded by can't stand to be hot. And so
Yeah.
we have to run the AC. And so then I'm always freezing. And I'm like, here it is summertime, and I'm wearing a sweater in my own house and socks and.
Yeah. Yeah, Brian being here this last few days, he's the opposite. We laugh about he'd rather be cold, loves the winter and all that. And so we've kept the temperature lower, probably
Mm.
not as low as he wanted us to, but John and I were both like freezing and Brian's over there fanning himself. But yeah, John grew up in a house that did not have central air here in Texas, just over the ridge here. And the way his
Wow.
dad described, or he designed it to sit where the wind would have a cross breeze, and they had lots of windows in the front and the back, and they'd open them and they'd put a big box fan in the window. So when you said that about that
Yeah, so
sound,
cozy.
oh, it
Yeah,
is. Just
I
makes
love
me
it.
think of summers there at his house. And I'm sure they would have preferred having central air, but they survived without it. A lot of people did. I
Yeah.
mean, how long has the world had central air? Less than 100 years.
When we first moved to Denver, we didn't have AC,
Yeah.
and we really didn't have it for the first 6 years, I think. We didn't get it until my mom moved in with us. She lived with us for 3.5 years while we were in Colorado, and she was going to be living upstairs, which does get hotter
Heat
in that
rises
part of the house, which wasn't a big deal to us because we were never up there except when we went to bed. And by that point, it's cool.
in
And
Colorado.
so, but we finally got AC just because she moved in with us. But we just, like I said, we just learned how to close the blinds at certain times of the day, run the fan. Seemed like there were really only maybe 2 to 4 weeks in Denver where it was kind of hot, you know,
Yeah.
where there were times when I thought, okay, I'm missing the AC, and that was it.
Well, it just depends on like you're talking about where you live in the country, because there it does get really hot, but you can get under a tree and you're
Yeah,
cool. The wind is
yeah, there's
blowing,
no
and at night
humidity.
it cools off. Here you can't get under a tree. It's humid, and I
Mhm.
mean you can get under a tree, but it's the same temperature, if not hotter, under. But oh yeah, I'm with you on that. And probably the majority of women listening to this are thinking we're crazy, but
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So you said longer days. I said food. What's another one for you?
Um, Sandals. I mean, that's just a sandal girl, and I'll wear them in the wintertime if I can get away with it. So just pedicures and sandals. I just like my toes being free. And when we spent that time in Israel, um, I would always wear Chaco sandals because they have the grip on the bottom. So I didn't feel like I was going to slip and slide. And John always told me, you need a more substantial shoe. And I would tell him, you need to get your feet out of those boots in July the 15th, and it's 110 degrees outside. But
Ugh.
that's just he likes that, and I prefer to always have my feet free.
Hmm.
And pedicures are fun. My granddaughter gave me one a couple weeks ago, and there was more polish on my toe than there was on my toenail, but it was fun. It's just, something that I don't do year round, but I do look forward to summer sandals and summer toes and pedicures and things like that. And little ankle bracelets, things that are fun that I don't do that in the wintertime.
I had that on my list as well. I put sandals and flip-flops.
Hmm.
And I'm the same way when we travel to Israel or wherever else, and they always say, wear a good, comfortable hiking shoe. I'm like, oh, wear a
Hiking
good,
sandals.
comfortable
Okay.
hiking sandal.
Yes. My feet need to be free.
Yeah, yeah. Same when we go to Tanzania, I always wore sandals, flip-flops, whatever. And along those lines, laundry is so much better in the summer because
Right.
everything that you wear is smaller and thinner, and you don't have all the bulky layers that takes up so much more space in the washing machine. So laundry is another summer plus.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I also thought about how, kind of along the lines that you were talking about, waking up to the light. You wake up, at least we do, wake up to birds, and we go to sleep with the cicadas. That's such a
Um,
summer noise to me, is that not as loud as what y'all have had recently, but I mean, you can hear them over our fan usually. And it's just that, I don't know, there's just something so summery about that cicada noise at night that is calming and puts me to sleep. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's great. We have a pond. Our neighbor next door has a pond, and there's always this bullfrog.
Mhm.
When we let Ollie out at night, we're always out there listening to this. He is so deep and throaty, and every single night he's over there. I mean, it's probably not the same one, but I picture the same lone bullfrog living over there,
Yeah.
serenading us every night.
Hmm. Giving you a song.
Yes, singing us a bullfrog song. That's probably a song in itself.
You might be come up with.
Um, okay, family vacation.
Mhm.
Growing up, summer was the time when you knew some families go to the same location every year. Neil's family did that. They always went to Cherokee. And some families choose somewhere different, but it's just, when you think about summer and vacation and time off, it's time together as a family to get away, make memories, do something special. So it seems like here, though, a lot of people do it in the fall. Fall break is a big deal around here.
Cooler, maybe.
Maybe so. Yeah. And we have a 1 week that everybody leaves for fall break, and our attendance that week will be really low because everybody is everywhere, somewhere else. But I always think of family vacations in the summer.
Where did y'all go?
When our kids were little,
Well, I remember, didn't you say when you were little that y'all would go camp somewhere or Arkansas
yeah.
or somewhere like that?
No, I've never been to Arkansas when I was a kid. So we did some camping. We would go coastal sometimes. Our family never went to the same place
Mm,
every single time.
yeah.
And I grew up in Florida, so we hit all the theme parks, Walt Disney World, SeaWorld, all that. We did a lot of canoeing, state parks, stuff like that, picnics.
Yeah. We almost always, if we didn't do a vacation every year, but we would go to Ruidoso, New Mexico. It was
Mm.
always New Mexico because my parents wanted to go to the mountains in the summertime, which I'm a summertime mountain girl as opposed to a wintertime mountain girl. It's just something about that pine scent. And you don't get that scent in the wintertime or even in the fall. I think it has to do with the heat, maybe heats up the pine resin and makes it smell good.
Yeah,
But
I
we
love
would
that
always go
smell.
to Ruidoso and drive around in the mountains and enjoy the cooler air. And we'd be in a cabin and make we used to call them mountain biscuits or something like that. It was just basically drop biscuits, but when you drop them, they make these peaks, and so mom would call them, I think, mountain biscuits. So those are good memories from childhood.
Yeah, in a cast iron skillet.
Whatever the cabin had,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
because we'd be in a
Neil's
cabin.
mom used to, when they would cook over a fire, she would make the biscuits in a cast iron skillet.
Mhm. It makes everything better.
It does. So picnics, pickleball, tennis, fireworks, all those kinds of outdoor fun activities that go along with summer, and refreshing citrus drinks like sparkling limeade or lemonade with strawberries, or I love that kind of stuff. So it's pretty and it tastes good. It just doesn't taste the same in winter.
Because it's from a can or from a
Exactly.
frozen
It doesn't have the
frozen
same
beverage.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Fresh cut hay. Just thinking about the smells, fresh cut hay, fresh mowed lawn. I love that smell.
Mhm.
Um, you can usually tell when somebody's cooking out, because you can smell their grill, and I always like to try and guess what they're cooking, and barbecue. I mean, so I'm back to food, aren't I?
Yeah. I
That
mean,
always happens.
nothing wrong with that. Because I'm
Somehow it always
thinking,
winds back up into food land.
well, homemade ice cream was one for me because
Yeah.
when I think back on childhood Saturdays, what if somebody said summertime Saturday evening, what describe that? It would be outside with that fresh cut lawn smell, um, probably Lawrence Welk on the TV in the
Oh.
background, or Hee Haw, one of those things, and the homemade ice cream and the sound
Oh.
of the mixer, how it makes that
Yeah, that
rumbling
whirring
sound.
sound.
Because dad loved homemade ice cream and mom would do it. I don't know. Probably wasn't every Saturday, but in my memory, it was like every Saturday evening we would have homemade ice cream.
We had
Back when
very
you didn't care about
similar,
raw eggs.
yes, yes. We had very similar memories because every time our grandparents came over, we were making homemade ice cream and throwing burgers on the grill, and
Yeah.
so sweet.
Mhm.
Um, I love this time of year because our driveway is lined with trees and they leaf out in the summer. And Tuesday night, even, I forget who it was, maybe Caitlin King or somebody said when they were pulling up and the leaves were like a tunnel,
I
they were
mean,
driving through it. And I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was some kind of comment along the lines of she felt like she was driving into like a storybook or something like, ooh, where's this going to lead to?
yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, so I love it. In the winter, they're just bare trees lining the driveway, but in the summer, it's really pretty. So
Yeah.
I enjoy that. Sometimes we eat breakfast outside. Neil and I, when we get a chance, right there on the little table on our deck because it's still, it's not quite hot and it's got shade over it. And we'll just take our scrambled eggs and orange juice and toast out there and eat outside with a little kitty cat. And it's very
Yeah,
sweet
that's
memory.
cozy.
I think that might be, oh, my favorite color is green and there's green everywhere. I did jot that down also.
One of the things
Mm,
I thought about was while you're thinking is the break from school. And there's so many different school options now, homeschool or co-ops and things like that. And so not everybody has the same memories I do, but I can so vividly remember like the last few days of school. And it's basically worthless because everyone's excited to,
everybody's checked out.
yeah, they're checked out. And it's just a bunch of end of school parties and maybe you're signing yearbooks or we used to sign t-shirts. I have t-shirts from way back when and just that feeling of freedom and you don't have to wake up with an alarm and to be able it's like this endless of course it's not but it feels endless 12 weeks of freedom of not having to do and you know you've talked about schedules and things and it's good to not always have to wake up to an alarm clock and I think that was summer for me as a kid. We had the chores that we had to do and places that we would go and we had VBS and things like that. But for the most part, Doug and I, my brother, we just played. We'd go outside and I remember we'd have big boxes and we'd make them into cars. We'd color on them, color wheels and cut off part of it and make a steering wheel and just sit in the box and pretend like we were going somewhere or ride skateboards or go down the hill and play in a grapevine arbor. Just good summertime memories. And I'm grateful for my parents making it a good childhood.
But they did that without being intentional about it. I mean, as far as it didn't involve planning and scheduling, and our summers as a child were the exact same way. And my sister and I spent all day long, every day outside.
Mhm.
And, it's like first thing, as soon as we had breakfast, as soon as we watched a few cartoons, if it was Saturday,
Yeah,
head outside. We were there all day long and we just knew to come back before dark, and we explored the woods. I mean, I can picture the little like camp setting and the little
mhm,
huts that we would make in
yeah.
the woods. And we
Too.
played with the garden sprinkler and the garden hose. And um, strangely enough, the garden rake. It seems like we were always using it to create some kind of routine. Like we would balance it and twirl it and
I didn't
come up
ever
with
do that
these
kind of thing with Doug.
come up with these little routines to music,
Uh-huh.
and that was just summer, is this unstructured, unscheduled, it was okay to be bored because you just figured, and you didn't tell your parents that you were bored, or they'll say, well, I'll give you something to do.
Yeah.
You just made the most of it and entertained yourself and learned how you didn't have to be entertained by somebody else and have every week scheduled out and almost oversaturated, it seems like these days with activities and schedules. And, Neil, I've mentioned before, I jotted down the name of the book that I've mentioned before, the book that Neil's been reading called The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. And he actually talks about that and says that you need to allow kids to roam and have like discovery and unstructured play. And because they learn to assess risks, develop problem solving skills, to be faced with choices, to fail. And all this comes with this kind of freedom to discover and explore unsupervised. And obviously he's not talking about complete lack of supervision where they're getting into trouble or danger or anything like that, but just unstructured play where you're not constantly hovering and making sure you know what they're doing every time. But he says, don't smother them, let them discover and explore unsupervised. And Neil made a comment when he said, how tragic for summer to be spent held captive by a device inside. And I thought about that too. That's something else that's different is we, of course, didn't have to face that. We didn't have the lure and the pull of being on our phones or our screens of some sort instead of being outside. So, um, he was talking about needing vitamin D, getting all hot and sweaty. Neil shared a childhood memory of eating corn on the cob out in the field. He said that his mom would actually carry out a big pot of boiling water outside,
Wow.
and they would literally harvest the corn and shuck it and drop it in the pot right out there in the field
I didn't get any fresher than
and
that.
just pull it out and eat it. And he said that's some of his best summer memories.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought that was really sweet. So,
Mhm.
uh, I just thought, let's just throw that out there, for parents that might feel the pressure. I know there's a lot of great ideas and a lot of parents are doing fun, wonderful things and looking all fancy,
Mhm.
but it's okay to not feel the need to have to do all those things, to not feel like every week has to be planned out and structured and you have to have them doing
Entertained.
something all hours of the day and you have to plan cool activities and entertain them all the time. It's okay to give your kids time to be bored in the summer and let them figure out what to do and use their imagination and play with each other and be creative. And, in some ways, it feels like we're kind of stealing that from them when we're over entertaining and over planning. And I don't know.
My favorite pictures from when Jackson and Emmy and Clara were here a couple weeks ago. Jackson and Emmy were at the end of the driveway, and John had put up the pool, the blow up pool on the deck, and then he had another one that was at the bottom of the slide. And they had played with that for a long time and loved it. But then they got out and they were riding bikes and things around the driveway. But then they just sat at the end of the driveway, just the two of them. I don't know where Clara was. And they were just sitting there laughing and talking. And we couldn't hear them, but we could just hear their laughter. And I thought, kids that can learn to entertain themselves
Hmm.
and be happy just doing simple things, that's a gift. And that's something that follows them into adulthood, to be able um, to take care of yourself when things are slower, or it's just a gift to be able to take care of yourself and not need someone else or something else to occupy your mind and your attention. So
Right. That's right. Yeah,
I thought of
that's our
one
two
other
cents
thing.
worth. Go
What?
ahead. I said
What'd you
that's
say?
our 2 cents worth.
Yeah, yeah, for what it's worth. Well, and I even hesitated to say it because there's so many um opinions, whatever. But tan, I like having a little color in my skin.
Mm.
And I do realize that this, I'm hearing conflicting reports. I think, yeah, sunscreen, people want to use sunscreen. And I think some of it depends on your skin tone, whether or not you can absorb it. And I don't want to encourage anybody to do anything that they shouldn't do with their skin. But I love John when he gets skin tan in the summer. It
Mhm.
just makes him more handsome to me. And I don't know, just like having that color on our skin, a little bit fresh faced, and I like it.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I like brown feet.
Mhm.
He always gets really brown. I mean, really brown in the summer. And from being on the mower, because we have quite a lot to mow, and it takes him a good 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours just to mow, and that's with a zero turn.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't even count all the time weed eating and
Mhm.
everything else. He's always so
Garden.
he gets yeah, now he gets really brown out there. And yeah, I've always tried to soak in as much sun as I can in the summer because I like better tan. But now that my hair is turning, I'm a little more cautious because I keep reading about how the sun, if you've got gray hair at all, can turn it kind of yellow and stuff. So now I
Mhm.
have a leather.
Hat on.
I do. I have like a leather Outback style hat that I'm trying to remember to wear when I'm working outside. But
Yeah. So everybody be safe with your skin.
that's all right. We're just being honest here.
Yeah.
We're vain enough to where we like having a little bit of a golden tan.
Yes.
All right, well, I started out with a verse and I wanted to end with one too. Genesis 8:22 says, "As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." And we thank God for all of it. We are talking about our favorite things about summer, and it is our favorite season, but we do thank God for all of it. It's those other seasons, I think, especially winter, that make us appreciate even more the beauty of summer. And it all comes from God, and He knows what He's doing. And I'm grateful for every bit of it. Just extra special grateful for
Yes.
summer.
Yes. Thank you, God, for summer.
That's right. Hey, guess what I heard?
What did you hear?
So I heard about this woman that her name is Rachel Mauser. And she decided that she was going to start looking for people in the congregation that could easily be a little bit overlooked. And this could be elderly people. This could be maybe a new family that showed up 2 or 3 years ago, but still hasn't quite found their place yet, if you know what I'm saying. And she just decided that this would be the year that she would take responsibility for making sure somebody goes up and talks to them, somebody checks on them. Um, the elderly people, she'll walk over all the way over to their pew wherever they're sitting and engage in conversation with them. Um, One older couple placed a membership 2 or 3 years ago, and she just noticed that they had missed a service, and all she did was reach out and text them, hey, hope you're okay. I noticed you weren't there today. And they just were so overwhelmed by that, how easy was it for her to reach out and text? Probably took
Mhm.
her, what, 5 seconds.
Mhm.
But their response was, thank you for doing that. You have no idea what that meant to us. Well, so the reason I wanted to share this is because it really isn't that big of a deal for her to do this. It doesn't take a lot of time. It does take effort and intentionality. But something that I've noticed is I've thought to myself more than once this year about her. She sure is a likable person.
Mm.
And it's not that before this she wasn't. But what I discovered when I found out about this, I thought that explains it. She just has a little bit of an extra sparkle about her. And because she's just doing something thoughtful for other people, and it brings out when you do something thoughtful for other people, it brings out the best in you. It's given her this little extra sparkle. It's making her a valuable member of our church family, for her to see those gaps and needs and be the one to do something about it. And she's encouraging our leadership, because I think about the elders and preachers feeling the responsibility to try and see everybody and not miss anybody, and to know that other people are of their own accord, not because of a program or somebody saying anything about it, stepping in and filling in the gaps is a real boost, a real encouragement to them. So I just thought I'd share this good gossip about Rachel Mauser and some of the wonderful things that she's decided to do this year.
That's some really juicy, good gossip.
That's some juicy good gossip.
I like that. Well, guess what I heard?
What did you hear?
I heard that Christy Huntsman is going to be a speaker at a homestead festival.
What?
Yeah.
Where?
The Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous. And I don't know when it's going to be. That's what I was doing when I was trying to hook, when we were starting the podcast. I was looking up to see when it is. I think it's in September, but maybe when I'll reach out to Christy and find out, and we can share it next week. But she's going to talk about freshly milled flour at a homestead festival. And I
Oh,
know how much you love those. And I mean, you and I both love Christy Huntsman. She's got so many talents.
she
But,
does.
I mean, and it doesn't, I mean, I think that her homestead skills, which is what they are known pretty far and wide for,
Mhm.
from the roots up, is their YouTube channel. And she's got tons of followers there. But they do things together as a family.
Mhm.
But I think that it's pretty cool that she's going to be a featured speaker at the Oklahoma Homestead Rendezvous. And I'll share details next week about when that's going to be and how you can uh, go or whatever. I also heard about this because JJ Hendricks is the one that spread this good, juicy gossip. So he's
Good.
always finding good things about other people.
Good.
And so this thing that we're trying, you and I are trying to do, I thought I would just mention. I it's kind of hard to find some juicy, good gossip about people. And part of it is because social media for me, I have to skim past all the junk ads, which
Mhm.
is frustrating. Although I have found that when on your app, if it's the Facebook app, there's a little button at the bottom that says friends, which I always thought was just like friend requests, but it focuses on your friends. It's less of a news feed and more of your friends feed. But what we're trying to do, we mentioned it in the podcast last week that's airing this week. We want to find out good things that people are doing for other people. And it made me kind of do a little self-reflection too, because the things that I share, are they focused on me or on other people? Am I trying to help other people, shine light on other people, or on me, on the things that we're doing, on my family? So what we're looking for is, and what we want to highlight is people that are doing good things. And like, yours was Rachel doing good things for other people. What mine was kind of a neat thing that Christy's doing, which is going to help other people. But we're hoping that everyone will think about sharing things that are going on that people are doing, not necessarily they're not doing it to get pats on the back necessarily, but we want to give them pats on the back. So hopefully everybody understands what we're trying to do.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening, you're new here. We used to use this part of the episode to do something called Something Good for You. And we would share, a new product or something that we like or something like that. So we're doing something a little bit different now in this new season about things that are good that we hear that other people are doing. And I love the idea. You had it. I love the idea. I think it's good to hear, to get ideas for ourselves of ways that we might be able to be involved or reach out and make a difference. But it's also good to give somebody a shout out and a pat on the back. And I think it also trains us to look for good things.
Right.
We're trying to find good things. We're trying to see good in others. It trains us to have an eye to that instead of being critical and
Or
judgy.
just being, or
Yeah.
just being self-promotional about things. So
Yeah. And concerning yours, for those who might not know, Christy Huntsman is also the editor for Come Fill Your Cup, big website that a lot of us utilize for all of the good things that can be found there. So very fun. Well, I've enjoyed this. Now I'm ready to go out and make the most of summer, and I hope you are too. Feels a little busy, so I wish mine was a little more unscheduled, but
we need
that's
another
okay.
kid summer, don't we?
That's right. Can
Be
I
a
be a
kid
kid again? No.
Yeah. Maybe just for about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. I may act like a kid, but I don't get to be a kid. So, but anyway, until next time,
Keep looking up.
enjoy talking to you.
Love you. See you later.